Hello, everyone. Welcome to our daily devotional for Saturday, December 5th. We are going through 2 Corinthians chapters 10 through 13. We're finishing out the book of Corinthians today. Hey, before we get into that, there's a couple of things that I just want to mention quickly. First off, if you haven't noticed, that's right. I got a new Steve Largent jersey. It's old school. It's got the old school. Look at that. Isn't that incredible? I got this thing, still had the tags on it. I don't want to brag. I got it off Facebook Marketplace, brand new, from someone in Spokane. I'm not going to even tell you how much I paid for it because I don't want you to be envious or jealous. And as we read earlier a few days ago, I don't want to cause you to stumble doing that. So, anyways, I hope you're having a wonderful day. And hey, just a couple of other things as we're getting into it here. First off, if you are watching these things regularly and you haven't yet, please make sure that you get onto our church page and like our church page. And you can turn on notifications so that every time we have a live video going, you get a notification so you don't miss out on it. Also, we are really starting to ramp up our YouTube channel. We've had it for quite a while, never really used it before. I'm learning about it. And I want to encourage you to find our YouTube channel. I've been emailing out the links of these videos that we've been posting on YouTube. And you can go there, you can subscribe, turn on notifications for that. And we're really trying to build that channel as well. And we're looking to use that more in the future. We're looking to stream services through there and all that, especially now that we have our new equipment. And we're going to be doing our first service with our new equipment tomorrow, which is exciting. So anyways, okay, let's get into it. And again, if you haven't been reading with us, you're more than welcome to join us where we are, 2 Corinthians chapters 10 through 13 today. And this is an interesting this is an interesting section because Paul's wording here is just different. Like it's one of those passages that you kind of read through and it's like, is this like where's he coming from on this? And so I want to explain a little bit of that real quick, but I want to ask the question, who are you following? Because really that's what this comes down to, okay? The Apostle Paul is talking to the church in Corinth about different leaders that they are following, some of which are saying some pretty bad things and not really doing what Scripture tells them to do. And so they're leading people astray. And they're putting down Paul in his ministry. And so the Apostle Paul, he comes at them, but he does it differently than the way they're coming at him. And I want to read to you just real briefly here, as Paul is kind of setting up this whole thing. In chapter 10, verse 4, he says this, "We're human, but we don't wage war as humans do. We use God's mighty weapons, not worldly weapons, to knock down the strongholds of human reasoning and to destroy false arguments. We destroy every proud obstacle that keeps people from knowing God." And I think it's interesting because what Paul does here is he actually does the exact opposite of what everyone else is doing to him. He is waging war with these people who are putting him down, who are trying to discredit his ministry. But he doesn't come at them in a way that puffs himself up. Instead, he actually lowers himself. He actually humbles himself. And he set it up right here with those words when he said, we don't wage war as humans do. We use God's mighty weapons. And God's mighty weapon in this passage is humility. Have you ever been frustrated with someone, lashing out at someone, and they've come back with a humble attitude towards you? You may not have ever experienced that. I know I've experienced that a couple of times when I've been frustrated with someone and they come back at me with humility. That really, it stops the war and it humbles you. When someone doesn't treat you the way that you've been treating them. And so that's what what Paul does here through the next 4 chapters is he really talks down about himself. He uses some sarcasm, which is really interesting, and he's really using a play on words and actually a play on the strategy of orators of that time. And so that's why for us it's a little bit like interesting to read, because it's hard for us to understand and know exactly their techniques and the way that they communicated back then. But Paul is basically he's inverting their arguments and talking about how weak he is, about how he's not the greatest communicator. He says, I may not be the most gifted communicator or orator out there, but you know what? Check my content. Check out what I'm saying, and you will see that is the truth. And so he's really trying to reason with the church in Corinth, the church that he helped found, and help them to see his legitimacy as an apostle. Then there's this passage that would have been so easy for me to really focus on, because it's that thorn in the flesh passage in 2 Corinthians chapter 12, where he says, in my weakness, I'm made strong through Christ. He says that, there was this thorn that was tormenting him, and he prayed to God 3 times, and God wouldn't take it away. How ironic that the man that had healed so many, that had seen so many miracles, God wasn't going to take away this thorn that was piercing him and causing weakness. And he says that through that, I realize that it's in my weakness that I'm made strong through Jesus. And what's interesting about what Paul is saying there, and I don't want to discredit the way that we use that passage talking about our own weakness, or when we're going through hard times or trials or any of that stuff, because it has a lot of relevance for that. But the specific context of what he's talking about here is in the midst of this these issues with these what he would call super apostles coming against him and trying to discredit him. And he says that in my weakness, I am made strong through Christ. And I just want to, I guess, maybe ask us that today. The first question I asked was, who are you following? Are you following the gifted people who have a lot of charisma, who might be a lot of fun, might be funny or a lot of fun, but they're proud and they like to show off their pride? See, Christ calls us to weakness. He calls us to humility, and that in our weakness, he makes us strong. So whoever you're following, and we're all following someone, okay? I'm not just talking spiritually. I mean, many of us are following the news. Many of us are following different political parties. Many of us are following different podcasts. We're following different types of music and all that. And I really want us, both on a spiritual and a practical level, to think about what we are allowing into our minds and hearts. Because ultimately, that's what Paul is saying here. He's saying, look at what they are doing, how they are promoting themselves, and then look at us and how we are not promoting ourselves. We're promoting Christ. So who are you following? The second thing that I think is important for us to ask ourselves is, in these times in which are so frustrating, are we allowing ourselves to learn through the weakness that we might be experiencing? Are we allowing ourselves to live in weakness and be supplied by strength from God? See, that's not an easy lesson to learn. That's an extremely hard, tiring, and exhausting lesson to learn. In our weakness, we have to learn to look to him, not to anything else, not to our devices, not to other things, other relationships, but look to him to be our source of strength. And then finally, the third thing that I just want to hit on real quick, Paul, in the last chapter, for our passage today, chapter 13, he just simply says this at the very end, after he's kind of made his argument and really tried to show the Corinthians that how much he loves them and his legitimacy as an apostle. He says this. He says in verse 5, examine yourselves to see if your faith is genuine. Test yourselves. And I think that that's important. See, All too often, we're looking to others, and we should. I posed that question earlier, who are you following? And we should be testing others. We should be examining their motives. We should be looking at things in their life to make sure that what they're saying, the way they're living, is lining up with what they're saying. But it's also so important for us to examine ourselves, to test ourselves, our own motives, our own heart, where we're going, why we're following certain things, why we're involved in certain things. We need to examine ourselves to make sure that our faith is genuine. We need to live in a posture of humility, recognizing that we are nothing without Christ, that he went to the cross for you and for me, that he carried our sin upon himself. And no matter how broken we are, no matter what choices we've made, no matter how much sin has taken over our life, when we look to him, we can cast our sin and our brokenness on him, and it can be crucified on the cross with him. It's that recognition, it's that ability to be able to look within, examine ourselves, test ourselves, and recognize that we can't do it on our own, that we need his strength, we need his power, and we need his example. So I want to encourage you today, as you're reading your passage, whether you've done it already or not, I want to encourage you to think about those things. And I hope that you're encouraged today. I'm excited for church tomorrow at 10:30. It's going to be a good time. So I will see you all. Actually, I'll see you before then, because I'm going to post a daily devotional for Sunday morning then. Before then, and then we'll have church at 10:30. Boy, it's just going to be a big old day tomorrow. It's going to be a good time. Remember, our page, go to our YouTube, find our YouTube, subscribe. All right, love you all. See you later.